Hey, this is Lorena, and I wanted to share one of my favorite tools with you. One of my favorite tools is called, let me look at it, and it's my favorite tool, right? It's called the Peggy Stitch Eraser. It's one of these beauties. I use it to do my embroidery work. And I really love this tool because it saved me a hell of a lot of money. And the way it saved me a lot of money is I use it to unstitch a name off of a hat if I misspelled it. Yeah. Or if something happens. It also makes me some good money. Just recently I had a client come to me because her son got a Letterman jacket, and the people who did the Letterman jacket misspelled his name. His name was Patrick and they put Rick. I think it's, well, she didn't think it was funny, but I thought it was kind of funny. So she begged me before she had to send it back, and they had it for 6 weeks and then get it back. She asked me if I could fix it, and this wonderful little tool fixed it for her. So I'm going to show you how this tool works. I'm going to share it, do a little video on it, but I sat back and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about you piecers out there. I hate unstitching stuff. I'm sure you do too. So I wanted to see if it worked. Gotta watch my video. And I also wanted to see if, I don't know about you long arm quilters, if sometimes you are quilting and your tension's wrong and it looks jacked up in the back. It looks beautiful in the front, like beautiful, but in the back it looks like crap. Okay, so on this thing that I had here, I realized that some of the quilting in the back looked really bad. And of course I use I love this tool. You could get them at Tooltron. I love this tool. I'm serious. It's like a $2 tool. And I used this to unstitch one time. My seams, of course. But one time I did a quilt for a client, and guess what she decided to do? She decided she didn't like the pattern that we put on her quilt, even though it was on a screen on a computer, and she picked it, and I told her the variables, and she still didn't like it. And you know the bad part about it is she had 2 quilts, and they were both queen size quilts, and they both had the same design that she hated when she went home. And the thing is I sat watching a movie. I sat watching probably 2 or 3 movies, unstitching those quilts for her, because the lady came to my house crying and panicking, and I just couldn't say no. Yeah, I couldn't say no. But anyway, I sat, unstitched it. It took me forever, but I did unstitch her quilts. I also going to add a little bit of how I unstitch with this tool, but I wanted to see if I can unstitch a piece of quilting with this tool. I wanted to see if it works. So I'm just letting you experience this journey with me, and I really thank you for watching, and I have wonderful comments. Y'all are awesome. Yeah. And so I'm going to unstitch this, yes, unstitch it, and restitch the name. So you get your stitch eraser, and you go on the back stitches, and just know that this can cause a hole in a jacket or a hole in any fabric. I like using the edge right here and just angle down towards the stitch. They use tearaway stabilizers. Sometimes I like to embroider with a cutaway, especially like on a heavy jacket. And the reason is, if you have to unstitch it, there's less likeliness of you getting to the fabric here, because the fabric itself from the stabilizer will support, and really you're just cutting off a lot of the thread itself, not the jacket fiber. I'm staying on the line of the thread and just pressing through the thread. Take your time on this as much as you can. I got some sticky stabilizer, but usually I have that roller, lint roller, is that what it is, to get all this off. Like I said, be careful with the fabric. Don't go down. Especially like at this point. Okay, I get my nail. I tend to scratch with my nails. I feel like I get more. The reason you want to have a light hand is because you don't want to hinder the fiber, I guess. So a lot of it has come off, but the smaller stitches are still there. Okay, as you can see, there's still a lot of little stitches still stuck on the jacket. And of course, you want to make sure that you get those off. So I'm going to go back on the underside and I'm going to kind of shave those little fibers off. This is what I recommend to you. Have an extremely light hand here because you don't have the stabilizer to kind of keep you from tearing up that fabric. So have a really light hand, be real soft with the razor, and then go ahead and start rubbing the fiber on the top side again. You're not going to believe how much thread goes into the fiber of a jacket and how long this takes. You can embroider a name in 3 minutes, and this can take you a good 30 minutes to unstitch a mess up, a mistake. So just be real patient with yourself. And what I do here is I tend to get all that embroidery thread and gather it together, and I use a roller tape, but I didn't have one, so I use a sticky stabilizer to pull this up, and this gives you a clearer view of where the stitches are still stuck on the jacket. This is just a patient kind of session for you. I've had to learn to be real patient going through this, because if you become impatient, you puncture a hole and then you ruin the jacket, and those kind of things are really hard to fix. So take your time. I found the more patient I am, the greater success, and the cleaner I'll get the jacket, so that when I embroider it, it looks like I did nothing. And so here you see it as clean as I can, but there's still those little lint fibers that are stuck inside the jacket, and usually I just get my nail and I rub it off, and you're not going to believe the mess you're going to gather. So just get ready to have like a lot of thread everywhere. It's Patrick, not Partrick. Partrick. So I used a cutaway stabilizer right here, just in case something weird happens on my machine. I know that I can get it off without any problem, and it's not affecting this fabric underneath. You could use the stitch eraser to shave off the seams. Just like that. Your block, if you need it to. I know a lady had a little one. They have a little, I don't know where they got it though, but this works just as well. Okay, so I want to do my binding without binding on this quilt, and what I tend to do is I tend to get my seam ripper right here and undo it. Will do the same job but maybe faster. So I'm going to get, I want to get the stitches, and I want to make sure that I don't damage the back fabric, because I'll be able to roll over this binding. Of course there's thread fiber, but it's not, it didn't tear into the back fabric. So I have a design here, and it's a pretty tight stitch, and if we as quilters didn't want this on here, we would unstitch, the way I would unstitch it would be I would get this, find the stitch somehow like that, and start unstitching, right? That's how I would unstitch my, from the long arm, let's say. The way I would do it on, I don't know if this will work. Alright, so here I got my stitch eraser, and I was doing it upright, and I ended up cutting the fabric. So I said, okay, Loda, now don't give up, flip it. So I started flipping it and using that that kind of little clipper, and I would pull the fabric, and then you would see the thread and just graze the thread towards the batting. And as I did this, you could see that it did start to work. So I also want to share some things with this. This fabric, the quilting, is probably like 15 or 18 stitches per square inch. So it's very dense in stitching. Usually when I do quilting like this, I refuse to unstitch it because it's the pain. But maybe if you have to, this is a way to do it. If you see me, I'm going very slow and pulling that fabric. And here I'm just showing you how far along I got. And I'm going back and working some more. I'm also showing you the back. In this area, the stitching looked horrible because my tension was horrible. And I didn't notice it because from the top it looked beautiful. But then when I looked at it in the back, it really just looked like a hot mess. So here you see me going back with those little stitch eraser clipper thing and just pulling the fabric and pulling and just getting that eraser right up to the thread and pulling it along. And I'm going to show you how far I had gone. It didn't take me that long. I also want to show you that when I was doing it wrong, how I punctured a couple holes in the fabric, and after a while I got it done. So if you have to unstitch a large quilt, this is a great way to do it, especially if the stitch density is not as dense. And this is what it looks like in the back. Alright, so this really does work. I really do think that maybe long arm quilters can use this, especially if you're trying to unstitch an area that you quilted. You saw me unstitching a really dense stitched area. I mean, it was, I think, 15 stitches per square inch when I quilted it. Those are really tiny stitches, maybe a 12 inch or a 10 inch. I think this would work a whole lot better. Just make sure that you're facing down towards your batting. Don't touch your fabric because you saw that it did cut it. Also, take precaution. Unstitch at your own risk. I know that when I unstitched with this one, I found a way that I stitched towards the batting also, and this works. But there's times that I've nicked fabric, my own quilts, when I was unstitching them because my tension was jacked up. It does happen, but I think this is a great tool for embroidery, and I think it's a wonderful tool for piecing. I mean, you saw it just cut this fabric up and open it like butter. I mean, it did it quick, it did it clean. As a matter of fact, what I've noticed is you don't see this even warped in any way. You don't see warpage when I took it apart, so there's not that pulling and tugging that you have when you're unstitching with a regular seam ripper. I found that this really does work for quilting, to unstitch a quilt. Just do it at your own risk, okay? Be careful, go towards the batting, and be real patient. I think that's the word for this little tool. Be patient and you have good success. If you're not patient, you'll tear up your stuff. But aside from that, these are $69. I got it at All Stitch, but I'm sure there are other places. I will place a link on the bottom bar of this wonderful little tool. And also too, join my Facebook group, Lorena's Quilting on Facebook. I will also post a link of my Facebook group. And I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, okay? Bye. Bye. Tip number 5, get yourself a planner. And the reason is because I'm finding for myself, really? Don't put me in front of the camera.
You ever get your own TV show? I could see that being your intro. All the weird faces. And then way you have it already because you've got your blog. But you know what I think.
Meow. Hello. Is anybody out there? Who's listening out there in the big giant world?
There we go. There's I am.
Oh my god. I'm ridiculous. Turn the camera off already.